Hello, this is Rudy Giuliani back again with Rudy's Common Sense. The episode today is going to be maybe a little surprisingly not about the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which is on our minds, all of our minds, including mine. But our last podcast was on that. And I think we covered it quite sufficiently in terms of how much of it was created by this present administration and probably wouldn't have happened under a stronger president. And we'll have more to say about that as that unfolds. But there, so much attention is being paid to the invasion of Ukraine, which is a horror, by the way, a terrible thing. And I feel extremely strongly about it, both personally and politically, because I have friends in Ukraine and I've been going there for many, many, many years. I worry about the mayor of Ukraine and a lot of very good people there. But there's an invasion going on in the United States that is of greater dimension than the invasion in Ukraine. And our put America last politicians don't seem to care about it at least as much as they care about the invasion of Ukraine. I mean, they don't even talk about it anymore. And we have a massive invasion going on across our southern border. It is, for all intents and purposes, an open border. Please don't attribute that word to me. That was used in 2020 by almost every Democratic candidate, including the unfortunate choice that they made, who's there now. Open border, open border. I could quote every single one of them. Come here, you'll get welfare. Come here, you'll be made citizens. Come here, your children will be taken care of. It went so far as we'll get you health insurance. And when they did come here, Biden made sure to fulfill all those promises. Now, they were even given COVID relief. Illegals who came here. So no wonder they lined up in the hundreds of thousands and millions to come. Way beyond, the last year or two of Trump, when he got it under about as good as control as we've had it for 20 years. He did away with the check him out in Mexico policy. He stubbornly refuses to reinstate it, even though a court has told him he's wrong. Although his Homeland Security advisor, Mayorkas, tells us the border is secure, I don't know. Is that the biggest lie in the Biden administration? It's one of the top 10, right? I mean, the border, I could go down there with a little camera and show you the border's not open. You see it every night on television. You see people just walking across. You got 1,000 border agents that tell you they can't do anything. The bad guys tell you that. There's no confrontation at the border. So we have an invasion going on across a more than 1,000-mile border, most of it concentrated, though, in Texas. And now, why is that of concern? Because let's try to separate this rationally for a moment. It is true that some of the people coming over are people coming over trying to escape poverty and wanting to have a better life. Of course, the whole world is made up of people trying to escape poverty. And if that's your standard for coming into the United States, we'd be a country of about 5 billion. And we'd all starve. So that obviously can't be your standard. The problem here is with those groups that come in those large numbers, and here's what the Democrats deny, substantial numbers of people that want to do grave damage to us come in with them, more than ever before. It is no longer just a Mexican coming into work situation. The immigration problem issue from that border is starting. I have a map here just to show this to you. It's starting way, way down here in Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador. Oh, even further down, really, Colombia. It started here about 2 years ago, called the Golden Triangle, when the drug trafficking moved out of Colombia in large measure because of the defeat of the FARC and the cartels. It moved into here as a kind of focal point. Even Colombians would operate out of here, and the drugs would come in here, and then they'd take various routes to the border. Some would be on land, some would be by sea, up to the Texas border. Here, now, we have people assembled from maybe 30 or 40 different countries in the world that are coming into the United States, including from countries that are listed as terrorist countries, countries that are drug havens, countries that are completely illicit countries. This area here is also in close connection with the Mexican cartels who control Mexico. But most importantly, they not only control Mexico, but of greater importance to us, since we don't control the border, and we don't, they control the border. There's the border. There are the major checkpoints on the border. For each one of their checkpoints, there's a cartel or two acting as, let's call them toll booths. You know, like a toll booth you used to have on the highways before we got terribly technological. We don't have them anymore, mostly. Except these toll booths are made up of the Sinaloa cartel, the Gulf cartel, the Juarez cartel, the Los Caballeros Templarios cartel, the Los Zetas, about 7 or 8 cartels. They've pretty much agreed on territory, and they check you out when you come in. They're not going to miss too many people coming in. We miss probably, least survey I've seen is 40% up to 100%. In other words, if 2 million came in last year, which is the number that were apprehended and then led on with very little checking, like for COVID or stuff like that. I mean, Biden just put them on Bus Biden and Air Biden and sent them to you. You've got them now. Your kid may be wearing a mask in school, but they came in from Nicaragua and nobody checked them for COVID. That's how hypocritical the Democrats are. But, you know, that may not be by any means the worst of what happens here. So you got about 2 million that get apprehended. You've got somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million that we never see. They just come in and they go. Where? Where something is assigned for them. Who are they? Well, there are some good people, but they are also people bringing in drugs, fentanyl, which we're going to be talking about in great detail, because it's sort of a indicator of just how things have gotten out of control. And it's also an indicator of how this goes all the way back to another enemy in China. They bring in human beings for human trafficking. They bring in children for human trafficking in children. They certainly bring in many, many guns. They bring in weapons. They bring in items for terrorists. They bring in anything that'll make them illicit money. And please, if you think that they're like the old Pancho something little gang when we used to have these massive Colombian cartels, many of which I prosecuted, know them intimately. I would say these cartels are easily as sophisticated, I think more, and particularly in the way they secure that border. One quote from a DEA agent in one of these articles I have here says, "We virtually no longer contest at the border." And they know it. We don't stop them. We don't use physical force to stop anyone from coming in anymore. You remember what happened to those poor guys on horses where they touched somebody, illegals coming in. I think they got fired. I hope they didn't get executed. You know, meanwhile, you see in Canada, the horses there stomp on women, and none of the Biden hypocrites said anything about that. And those people are acting lawfully. These people are acting unlawfully. Well, in any event, the border is open. You can walk across it. When you come in, you're greeted rather nicely. And there's a really good chance you're going to be put on a bus or a plane and sent to Pittsburgh or Westchester Airport or Newark Airport. We have pictures of people coming in, or you're sent to North Carolina or whatever. The only people who know who these people are, the only people who have vetted them, are the Mexican cartels. They are arranged right along the border. Each one has a different area along the border. Very nicely done, right? And a lot of it is in between the checkpoints. So, I mean, these, please just trust me. These are very sophisticated, very, very skilled criminals. Now, if you think they just come into the United States and then they lose control of them, well, Cartel de Sinaloa, Cartel Jalisco Nuevo Generacione, which is the new generation cartel. It sounded like more like Italian, right? The Cartel del Golfo, the Organization del Beltran Leyva, and the Los Rojos, the Reds, they all have, see that? You know what those little dots are? Those are the headquarters. This is like a corporation. I could show you, like, you know, the locations for Amazon, right? This is a location for Amazon distribution. This is the location for the deadly items that they push across our border that are killing us in record numbers nowadays because of Biden. It's a record because he has opened the border unlike any other president. Even Obama tried. This guy invites them in, lies, says we're stopping them at the border, and the numbers belie that tremendously. So this is like a war, isn't it? I mean, if an army came across and shot 100,000 young Americans, that'd be a war, right? Well, 100,000 Americans died last year. More people between 18 and 30-something or whatever died of this than the feared COVID. Nobody's wearing a mask for this. Children aren't wearing masks. Nobody's being taught about it. But those kids are going to die of this much more than COVID. And Biden and the Dems don't give a damn. And I'm going to tell you why before you get the scientific explanation from my partner, Dr. Maria. They're voters. The cynical Democrat Party is bringing them in to abuse them, to take advantage of them, and to make them into knee-jerk voters of the Democrat Party. And they will do the same thing to them as they've done to the urban blacks, which is to double-cross them and leave them in 30 to 40 years of poverty and massive crime and murder. Because I don't really give a damn about them. They put them in pens, in pigsties. They care about the numbers, and they care about the vote. And boy, does it give you an opportunity for cheating when you have people like that. Look at New York. Why would New York pass a law that allows non-citizens to vote if they're not banking on all these illegals who are coming in voting for them? What do you need, a map? You got one. Here's the map. There are the locations. I don't know, is your city on this location? They are at the colors here. You know, we'll put it up more carefully. Maybe you should take a screenshot of it, because if you take a good look, let's say you live in, I'm in Palm Beach right now. Let's say you live in in Palm Beach, we have the Sinaloa cartel. They have Palm Beach, but Orlando has Cartel Jalisco Nuevo Generacione. But basically, Sinaloa controls Florida. Sinaloa controls all of the Northeast up to New England, where there are tremendous numbers in Massachusetts that feeds up in New England. This has to become a priority. This cannot be ignored. This is exactly why Biden is such a terrible president. This is exactly why America First means something. It means let's help Ukraine. I think we should do a lot more to help Ukraine. I'm a little different than some of the others. But let's take care of the United States first. Well, I'm going to take a short break. And when we come back, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Maria Ryan. And she has had tremendous experience, particularly working as long as she did in New England, believe it or not. New England is a place that's been hurt very, very much by this drug problem, as has all of America. And she'll take you through it so you understand what it is, because a lot of people don't quite understand what this fentanyl is and what it adds to the fatality. So we'll be back very shortly, and you will see a much more pleasant picture Dr. Maria. Think your homeowner's insurance covers home title fraud? Think again. And neither does your common identity theft program. The FBI calls home title fraud one of the fastest growing crimes, which is why you need to go to HomeTitleLock.com, America's leader in home title protection. Here's the problem. The deed to your home is the only document that proves you own it. And the deeds to all of our homes now are online. In minutes, a criminal can find and forge your name off the deed to your home and refile as the new owner. Like Jeff, who spent a fortune in legal fees after a thief forged himself onto the deed to Jeff's home and took out loans. Jeff didn't have home title lock then. He does now. Or Deborah, who thought our common identity theft service would protect her. Then a criminal got onto the deed to a home and had her evicted. Deborah has home title lock now. HomeTitleLock.com is your peace of mind, and the deed to your home is protected. Visit HomeTitleLock.com. HomeTitleLock.com.
Welcome back. So what is fentanyl? Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid, and it is made two ways. One, the legal way, the pharmaceutical way. And fentanyl is used to treat end-stage cancer, different pain syndromes, potentially after surgery. It could be in a couple different forms, but it is very legal to use in these circumstances. And it is done under a physician or a nurse practitioner's supervision. And then there's the other way, the illegal, illicit way of making fentanyl. And the ingredients mainly come from China. Back in 2012, mail packages were intercepted coming directly into the United States from China with fentanyl. Since then, they decided to go a different route. The Chinese Communist Party and other bad actors in China contract and work directly with the Mexican cartels. And through that pipeline, and it has become very complex over the years. It's not simply a drug trade. They are into different things, including money laundering and setting up some halfway quasi-legitimate businesses. But it is China and Mexico. The flow is in an organized manner. Now what they are doing, it is fairly cheap to make synthetic fentanyl illegally. And instead of doing it outright as a liquid to put on a blotter paper, they are putting it into drugs like heroin, methamphetamines, fake oxycodone. There are fake oxycodones on the streets that look exactly what your doctor would prescribe. Almost identical. You can't tell the difference, but they're putting fentanyl in it. And they're also now doing it in marijuana. Fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin, 100 times, up to 100 times more potent than morphine. So if you don't know your drug is mixed with this, and you are taking another respiratory depressant, Ativan or any other opioid, you are surely going to go into respiratory distress. Why do you ask, would drug dealers want to kill their clients? It's to cause chaos. We have to look at this as a terrorist attack on our youth and on our country. We have to look at this drug trafficking into the United States as a terrorist attack. Fentanyl overdoses are the number one cause of death for those 18 to 45 years old. This is a national emergency. This rate of death outrates COVID deaths in this age group, motor vehicle accidents, shootings. We have topped 100,000 deaths a year in overdoses. Fentanyl has a few different names on the streets. It's called Apache, Butter, Goodfella, Murder 8, White Girl, Chinatown, China Girl, Tango and Cash, Snowflake, and Dance Fever, to name a few. There's a lot of different names. And we lost several young preteens because on Snapchat, it's fairly easy to get a fake oxycodone, and we've seen deaths. One pill has killed our preteens and teenagers. We have to stop this. We have to stop those Mexican cartels. They are using innocent people now. It's so easy to get into our country. Just come to the southern border and we let you in, and we fly you all over the United States into our neighborhoods. We are assisting you not only in the drug trafficking trade, our government in the United States is assisting in sex trafficking and human trafficking. They are absolutely complicit, President Biden and Vice President Harris, in this endeavor. We want to protect our people against this fentanyl crisis. While we are talking briefly about the fentanyl crisis in the United States and how it's taking the lives of our innocent people, we also have to look at how our states are handling having sanctioned drug dens. This is probably the most idiotic thing that could happen in New York, in California, to set up places where people could do something illegal. What are we saying? You know, we have to follow the law. To allow people to go and abuse drugs is against the law. Not only is opioids extremely addictive, methamphetamines, heroin, fentanyl, it works on our brain chemistry in the opioid section of our brain, and you need more and more. Therefore, you do more and more to get the drugs. You steal, you hurt people. So let's also look at our legislators. We have to get involved in our local governments to stop this madness and take control. And we have to put a moratorium on that southern border till we track all the people who are in our country and look at the Mexican cartels and what they've set up in our country, because this is going to have effect for decades to come. Also, although we're talking about fentanyl, about the legality, about the addictive nature, about how it's killing, the number one killer for those age groups 18 to 45. We can't help but think about Ukraine today, where Russia invaded a city like Kyiv. Innocent little kids. It is like a China rolling into New York and taking it over and just shooting innocent people. It is a sad day that this has happened. We handled all of it wrong, the diplomacy, everything. Putin actually gave us a lot of time by setting up along the borders. He gave NATO a long time. He gave the United States a long time to put in some really good sanctions, including doing stuff against that pipeline. Let's face it, Europe's not going to do a lot against Russia because of their dependence on energy. And do you know the United States is now dependent somewhat on Russian energy? We were energy dependent. Is this why we're not really standing up to Putin? Ask questions, get involved. Always follow Rudy Giuliani on Rudy's Common Sense. He has a website, or you could sign up for his Rumble channel. And every day he is on WABCradio.com at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And he is syndicating into markets close to you. And soon, Uncovering the Truth with Dr. Maria and Rudy Giuliani will be syndicating to different markets. But right now, you can get us on WABCradio.com every Sunday at 10 a.m. Thank you.